Okay, what if I told you there's a guy, the head of a major publicly traded company, who thinks a single Bitcoin could one day be worth more than the entire economy of a small country? Sounds crazy, right? Well, today we are diving into one of the boldest, most audacious corporate strategies you've ever heard of.
$13 million. Just look at that number for a second. Let it sink in. This isn't some fantasy number pulled out of thin air. It's a real price target for one Bitcoin. And the man who said it is dead serious.
And this is the man right here, Michael Saylor. Now, he's not just some crypto influencer on Twitter. He's the executive chairman of MicroStrategy, a huge, multi-billion-dollar software company. And for him, Bitcoin isn't just an asset. He sees it as the fundamental fix for a broken financial world. To really get why he'd make such a wild prediction, we have to go back to 2020, when his company was facing a huge crisis.
Yeah, this whole insane story really kicks off in 2020. MicroStrategy found itself completely backed into a corner, pretty much staring at a dead end. And the choice Saylor made next, well, it didn't just change his company. It sent absolute shockwaves through the entire financial world.
So here was the problem. The company had $500 million sitting in cash, which sounds great, right? But this was 2020. The Fed had just dropped interest rates to zero. So that pile of cash was becoming, in Saylor's own words, a melting ice cube. Every single day, it was losing its buying power. They were stuck. You hold the cash, you lose. You invest it, but where?
The way Saylor saw it, he had three options. Number one, just sell the company. He says, look, pretty much 100% of companies in that spot just take the money and run. Option two, slowly bleed out. Use the cash to pay bonuses and keep the lights on until it's all gone. Or option three, do something completely radical. Find what he called a monster company or some revolutionary asset and just go all in.
And that third path, the radical one, that's where you find the absolute core of Michael Saylor's worldview. It's a philosophy that is the complete opposite of what pretty much every financial advisor will ever tell you.
So here's the difference. Conventional wisdom says diversify, right? Spread your bets. Maybe put 1 or 2% into something risky like Bitcoin, as a little insurance. Saylor says that's pointless. That's not going to solve your problem. He believes that if you've truly found the answer, you don't just dip your toe in the water. You dive in, head first. You go all in.
And this quote just nails his point perfectly. Saylor's argument is that diversification, that's a strategy for when you're not sure what the answer is. But when you think you've found the one single best solution, like using aluminum to build an airplane, you focus everything on that one thing. You don't build the plane with a little bit of aluminum, some wood, and some clay. You use the best answer you've found.
So, after looking everywhere from monster company to buy and finding nothing with enough juice, Saylor found his answer, Bitcoin. But, and this is so important, he didn't see it as digital money. No, he saw it as a new fundamental layer of the internet, a powerful financial network that everyone would eventually use, just like we all use Google to find information.
So, with his conviction locked in, Saylor didn't just, buy a little Bitcoin. He kicked off this massive, systematic, and really sophisticated process of basically transforming his company's entire balance sheet.
He started by taking that whole melting ice cube of cash, all $500 million, and turning every last cent of it into Bitcoin. For a public company to do this, it was completely unprecedented. But believe it or not, that was only the beginning. As their first investment started to grow, they actually got even more aggressive. They started using debt to buy more Bitcoin. And the logic, when you think about it, was brutally simple. They figured they could borrow money at, say, a 6% interest rate, while believing Bitcoin had the potential to go up 60% a year. I mean, that's a potential 54% profit margin made just by using someone else's money. It was a ginormous bet on Bitcoin's continued growth. And to pull this off, they used a whole toolkit of fancy financial moves. They took on hundreds of millions in traditional debt, sure, but they also issued things like convertible bonds, which gave them access to cash at super low interest rates. And they used this clever method called an at-the-market offering to slowly sell new shares of their own stock over time, raising cash without tanking their share price. But, as anyone who follows crypto knows, the path is never a straight line up. Saylor's entire strategy was about to face its most brutal test yet. And man, what a test it was. After peaking at over $66,000 in late 2021, Bitcoin crashed. And I mean, it crashed hard. It plummeted all the way down to $16,000 a year later. Suddenly, MicroStrategy, who had borrowed billions to buy this asset, was down over 75%.
They were under unbelievable pressure from Wall Street, from the media, from everybody. So what did they do? Nothing. They didn't sell a single coin. They just held on. Because Saylor's belief, his conviction, it was never about the price next week or next month. His thesis was for the next few decades. So for him, this crypto winter was just noise. So after weathering that massive storm, Saylor's ultimate vision for Bitcoin and the reason he took that incredible risk, it all started to become a lot clearer.
As Bitcoin recovered and then rocketed to new all-time highs, MicroStrategy just kept buying. Today, the company holds over 214,000 Bitcoin. That makes them, by a huge margin, the largest corporate holder on the planet. Their bet, it paid off. Big time.
But why? Why risk everything? Because to Saylor, Bitcoin isn't just a better version of gold. He sees it as a once-in-a-civilization kind of innovation. He puts it on the same level as fundamental discoveries like fire or electricity. He truly believes it's a foundational protocol for value, like an economic language that the entire world will eventually learn to speak.
And this is his view in a nutshell. He sees it as this neutral global economic infrastructure, a solid bedrock that literally anyone, a family, a giant corporation, even a government, can build their financial future on, knowing their capital is preserved across generations. And that brings us right back to the very beginning, that number that seems so impossible, $13 million per coin. Well, that's just the logical endpoint of this massive vision. If Bitcoin really does become the foundational asset for the entire global economy, then a price in the millions isn't just possible. In Michael Saylor's mind, it's inevitable.
So what do you think? Is Michael Saylor a true visionary who saw the future before anyone else and placed a brilliant, once-in-a-lifetime bet? Or is this just the single biggest, most reckless corporate gamble in history that just happened to pay off so far? That right there is the question at the very heart of this incredible story.